right. Well, thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon and for being with us for the last couple of days for our first conference. We appreciate you. We especially appreciate you for attending this session, and we're very happy to have Mr. Burns, Ms. Washer, and Mr. Baird with us today. Unfortunately, Mr. Allen wasn't able to make it, but we're going to ask the questions of these three panelists. Please, when you enter the Zoom room, please put your microphone on mute if you don't mind. If you weren't able to ask a question in the CTE Inspired platform, then we have the chat open here, and you can chat those questions. Morgan Dixon with iCEV is helping me with that today, so she'll be monitoring those questions in the chat as well. And then at the end, we'll make sure and give you the code that's necessary for you to get credit for the session. So we're going to get started with asking the questions. And Mr. Baird, I'm going to ask this one to you because you specifically talked about this in your presentation or in the session. Are there specific lessons or specific courses that help students prepare for the exam portion of the contest? And I know you can specifically relate to dairy cattle, but what would be, in your opinion, the specific lessons or courses that are helpful for students for the exam?
We offer the animal science class through Racer Academy with Murray State, and it's all iCEV, and the genetics, the reproduction, the anatomy, basically the whole class helps give students a background in animal agriculture. Most of our students really have no background. You know, they're not farm kids for most part. And it gives them a basis to start from. And I think that is one thing that's really been strong since we've started doing this.
So the next one, and Mr. Burns, I'll throw this one to you. What is the right ratio of videos to live animals to train a judging team?
That's a good question. I'd say probably 50-50 would be about right. Is that noise making correctly?
Yeah, you're in twice. So I see you, and then I also see another Ryan Burns. Yeah. So I don't know, but you're both muted, so I'm not sure what's happening there.
Okay, I bet that's better.
Okay.
I'd say probably 50-50. I think it's very important to see live animals along with the classroom. Classroom are a good basic place to start, and then you're definitely going to have to go out and see some live evaluation of animals when you get closer to the contest.
Mr. Baird, what do you say about that?
I agree. Maybe, we're in an area where there's not very many live animals to practice. So we're probably 75, 25, because we pretty much, to see live animals, we've got to travel, and it takes time and it's expensive. But, ideally it'd be, the more live animals you can see, the better off you are.
And Ms. Washer, how about you?
I would say we probably do a lot more videos than live, just like they were saying, especially, it's easier to find commercial animals and things like that, but it's harder to put classes together, horses or livestock or whatever. But now, kind of my big thing is that I talk about was poultry, and that's a little bit easier to do, especially with cuts and stuff like that. And that's one thing I like about that contest. It's kind of a cheaper contest to be able to get your hands on, live product. You can just buy up a whole chicken and make the cuts yourself, and then have the students fabricate that as well. And then they really, learn the cuts pretty well. The eggs and doing like the carcass grading and things like that, you can kind of manipulate that yourself as well. So I think that's kind of one reason why my kids have had some success in poultry, is because you can really give them a lot of hands-on, real deal training in that. Now, hens is a little bit harder, But like I said, there's a lot of parts of that contest that you really can, you know, manipulate stuff from the grocery store and be able to do that.
And this next question, I think this would be for all three of you. So besides preparing, you know, kids for just the evaluation skills portion, how do you coach students to like manage their nerves or just to really want to be competitive? So besides the technical type skills you would teach them to be successful for each of the classes and each of the contests, what kind of coaching motivation type things do you do to get students prepared? And Ms. Washer, we'll start with you.
Kind of one thing we've talked about and you hear ag teachers say all the time is success breeds success. You know, you get a team that does pretty well, even just at a local contest, and they're motivated to do well at the next contest. And then you have a couple years of that, and then, you know, the team wants to be better than last year's team or do as well. And so that's one thing. As far as teaching them how to, you know, deal with their nerves or whatever, I don't really know on that, but I just tell them, I said, you know, if we're feeling good going into it, I, you know, try to really make sure, you know, that they know the stuff at home. If you know they don't know the stuff at home, they're sure not going to know it at the contest. So, you know, make sure they're with it at home, and then just tell them, you know, just encourage them. You know it. You've been practicing well, and just, I always tell my kids, do the best you can do. If you leave and you know that you tried your best and you feel confident, then that's, you know, that's all you can do. Sorry, I'm in my camper and it flies. But yeah, I like I said, I don't put any pressure on them, you know, because sometimes maybe, you know, sometimes you see things different than officials maybe, or, you know, sometimes that there's a little bit subjective area there. But like I said, just tell them not to be so hard on themselves and have fun and do their best.
Mr. Burns?
I think what she said was some really good points too. Motivation wise, that really just success breeds success to get started out with. And I think when it comes down to contest time, most of the time they're going to put enough pressure on themselves to do good that there's not really much person needs to do there that won't cause more pressure towards them. But basically just to go out and have fun and do the best you can.
Mr. Baird?
You know, practice makes perfect. Is we try to give them as many experiments in contests. We travel everywhere trying to find a contest. And with COVID, that's gotten really difficult. We actually ran to Ohio yesterday and entered a contest that they let us come sit through just for the practice. But practice is a big thing. Also, we try to make practices, if anything, more difficult than the contest, so that when they actually get to the contest, it's, you know, hopefully they're going to get nervous. If they've worked on something for several years, you know, I've had some pretty nervous kids, but they use, you know, it's actually, pressure is good for most part.
The next question was, what are some ways to turn a non-successful program into a successful program? Or maybe we're talking to the individual here who is just starting out and maybe starting a judging program at a school, or maybe they're inheriting a program that doesn't have judging teams. So what advice would you have for that type of person? Ms. Washer?
I was kind of in the same boat. I don't know that we're necessarily successful yet, or, you know, one of the top chapters in the state or whatever, but you know, my mentors always told me, and I tell the younger teachers, you just have to build slow, you know, kind of perfect something, get really good at one contest, and then, you know, encourage the students to try another. And the more you do a contest, really kind of study it and hone your skills, and then get good at that contest, and next thing you know, you're good at, you know, 5, 8, 10 contests, and you just kind of have to build that away. I think it's easy to get overwhelmed, and if you have a program like mine where, you know, we have 20 FFA members and you expect a lot out of, you know, that maybe 80% that's actually really active. And so you can't do it all. And so in order to be success, you just kind of have to, I know for me, I just kind of started, you know, here's the things that I'm kind of good at or have an interest in, you know, so we got pretty decent at those contests. And then we started looking at the things that maybe the students were interested in. Another thing that sounds kind of bad, we kind of looked at, okay, well, what are the contests that, you know, don't have much participation? You know, it's pretty hard to be competitive at, let's say, livestock judging when you're up against 100, 200, 300 teams, but something maybe like food science or, you know, there again, in our case, poultry, you know, poultry didn't have as much. So we just decided, hey, let's try to be the big fish in that small pond instead of a small fish in a big pond. So that kind of seemed to work as well.
Mr. Burns?
I'd say a lot of those points I'd say the second those, because you just get a little bit of something going and it kind of breeds from there. Started one contest and try to get it down pretty good, something the kids like to do. And then once have a little success, no matter what it is, that it'll lead to some more success, and kids will kind of start to respond that way and get competitive.
Right, so we're going to end with you, Mr. Baird, on that same question.
Well, I think you've got to do, you know, we all teach agriculture because we love it. It's, you know, it's more than just a job. And I think to be successful in anything, that you've got to be committed. You've got to love what you're doing. And, you know, what both the previous speakers said, I agree completely. You know, find some areas, find out what, you know, what interests the kids, and then go from there.
Well, thanks to everyone. Thanks to our panel members and everyone that's joined us. Now, Morgan's going to put in the chat, she's going to put the code for the session. I'm going to read that aloud to you as well. It is Judge Train 033. So spell out Judge, spell out Train, TRAIN 033. Thanks again, and wishing everybody a safe and hopefully back to normal soon fall semester. And we just appreciate every one of you joining us. Bye-bye.